Good morning, everyone. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. Why don't we get the meeting underway? Uh, Board members and members of the public, welcome to the board meeting of the State Board of Optometry. Let's move to item number one, call to order, roll call, and establishment of a quorum. Deborah McIntyre, do you want to do that?
I'm prepared to do that.
Thank you.
We'll call roll. We'll start with Dr. Wong.
Present.
Dr. Turetsky.
I'm here.
Dr. Garcia.
Present.
Ms. Brandvine. Ms. Brandvine, are you present today?
She is absent today.
Oh, okay, thank you. Dr. McIntyre present, Dr. Kawaguchi.
I'm here.
And Mr. Moridomi.
Present.
And that does constitute a quorum today.
Thank you, Dr. McIntyre. That moves us to item number 2, public comment for items not on the agenda. Madam Moderator, would you open up the mic to members of the public?
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on that icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. We're currently sharing instructions on the screen for your reference, and in the Ask field, typically in the lower right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, please type, "I would like to make a public comment," and send to all panelists. I'll pause a moment to give the public time to access that Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, this is the moderator. It looks like at this time there are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Not yet. I'd like to ask a question of board counsel before we close it. I was informed prior to the meeting that the Optometric Association was interested in giving public comment. Perhaps they are not here yet. So what I'd like to do is, I don't know what the proper terminology is, but to come back to this item toward the end of our meeting, so that so we can re-request or reopen the board meeting to public comment. How do we go about doing that, or do we just move on and then come back to it?
Sure. Yeah, you're free to revisit or reopen that item anytime.
All right, so Madam Moderator, why don't we close the item for now, and then we can reopen it at the end of the meeting.
All right, sounds good. Public comment is closed for now.
And that leads us to the next item on the agenda. I believe it's our sunset report. Executive Officer Murphy, do you want to give a brief presentation or instructions to us?
Of course, sir, if you'd like. Thank you, all of you, for taking the time to go through the draft. This is a huge undertaking, and having been here only 2 of the years that we, within the last sunset review, want to really make sure that we mine your knowledge, as many of you have been here throughout that whole 4 years, and I only 2 of those. So want to start with overarching comments, your thoughts about the report as a whole, its reflection on the board, and then if there are particular things that are missing or items that you would like to make sure that we discuss today. And then we'll certainly, if folks want to send us any grammatical, syntax, we can accept those by scan or by fax, and we can make those changes grammatically later on. I want to make sure that I'm cognizant. I know that Dr. Garcia and Dr. McIntyre are taking time out of their patient schedules today. So I want to make sure that we use this time together as fruitfully as possible. If that's fine with you, Mr. President, that's how I was hoping we would proceed.
That's fine. Let's give it a go. So you want overarching comments from the board members if they have any. Okay. Very good. Let's see now. I'm trying to figure out how to do this in gallery view so I can see how to so I can see hands raised, etc. Well, being not adept at WebEx, I'll just ask the board members to just chime in and let me know if they have any overarching comments. Oh, here we go. Grid view. Or raise their hands. I can see you now. Anyone? I very much appreciate the board staff members working with me and Dr. McIntyre, the work group. We think we got a lot of work done, and I appreciate getting the draft out early. I'm assuming that the draft that's on the public website labeled Agenda Item 3, updated sunset review, is the draft we should be working on for this meeting. On the
Yes,
public
it
website.
is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. And I am sharing to the screen the version that we will go through today. It is different in others that you've seen in that it is numbered for each line on each page. And this is what has been posted to the public website and made available to stakeholders.
Great. So I'm not seeing a rush. Oh, all right. Let's go with Dr. McIntyre. Oh no, actually, let's go with Dr. Kawaguchi, since Dr. Kawaguchi was not part of the work group.
So it always amazes me each time we go through a sunset review how much the board has accomplished, and especially this go around. As you read through the review, you can see all the work that's gone on in years past, and I think it's a testament to the board, but also staff, and how much work we're able to accomplish and move forward and continue to try to move optometry into the future. So thank you to all for working on this over the last few years.
Hey, Mark, this is Jeff.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as a newbie, I just wanted to say how impressed I was with this document. The detail, and like Len said, all the accomplishments is very impressive. And I also just wanted to commend the staff and those of you who worked on this document. I know it was a lot of work, and I think it was very well done.
Ms. Murphy, actually, Jeff's comments reminds me, since Jeff was not here, or Dr. Garcia was not here on the last time we did the sunset review, perhaps you can say in 3 or 4 sentences what the purpose of this document is.
Certainly. It's to show that we are still relevant and needed in overseeing the professions of optometry and opticianry. At each sunset, we are given a checkup by the legislature, and they give comment to us on what we have done and what we should be looking at going forward. We then incorporate those into our daily activities and push those goals forward and come back to them to give them a report, also to let them know the new trends that we're seeing within the professions and the things that we've identified that should be key areas going forward. So just so everyone knows, the public and all. So this report we have compiled, draft we have compiled, will need to be submitted by January 4th to the legislature. We submit to both the Assembly Business and Professions Committee and the Senate Business Professions and Economic Development Committee. Staff will review the report and they will come back to us with additional questions. We will work to answer those questions and to find ways in which we might provide solutions to any of the challenges that they identify for us. Then the report will be made public, and then still not sure about the timeline, but likely spring as usual. We will go through a sunset hearing in front of the joint committee, sunset review. Both the chairs of the Senate and the Assembly Budget Professions Committees will walk us through and ask us questions. And of course, the rest of the committee members as well will let us know their feedback on what we've done and ask questions where they have questions. So we're all getting to a great time in front of the legislature for Mark and myself, going through and talking about the things that we've done. And then hopefully they'll reauthorize us to continue regulating optometry and opticianry.
Thank you, Shara. I did have one question. So, in looking through it, I noticed, and I'm sure there's always vacancies, but on the opticianry board, there was a key vacancy for an optician. Is that considered a ding when going through a sunset review to not have a full board or have key members seated?
I believe the legislature understands that it's a partnership. We, of course, as staff and board, want to help the process of finding qualified candidates and asking folks to step forward and serve on the board, on committees. But I think that the legislature understands it is a partnership. And so if the administration is searching for something in particular, we may sit with a vacancy for a while if they're looking to provide a greater voice to a particular constituency that might be underserved. Then, of course, they want to make sure that appointment is used judiciously and thoughtfully.
And interestingly enough, the vacancy that's been vacant the longest has been a legislative vacancy. So perhaps we can point that out during our hearing. And I would hope that Dr. McIntyre would join me at the hearing.
As long as I can do it like this is great.
Yeah. All right. I think Dr. McIntyre, you're next.
And nothing grand to discuss. I just wanted to thank the staff because this is a very well-written document, and I feel like Mr. Mordomi and I, we've had the easiest jobs in this. Maybe not you, Mark. But I was impressed by the sheer amount of information that's here. It reminds me of how much work is really done by the board. I don't have any substantive changes or recommendations to make. I may come up with some in the next week or so. I just have a list of some grammatical small items which I'll submit, and it's not worth going over here. It doesn't change anything substantively. But thank you, staff, for all the work that you've done. And I'm continuing to go through this document. I go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and it takes a long time. So I'm about 2/3 of the way through it, to be honest with you. And I've got pages of things, but again, they're not anything that is worth discussing here. But thank you again.
Ms. Murphy, on that note, what is your deadline, or what is the board's deadline to get the typographical and more grammatical errors or corrections to you?
We would hope, let me just take a look at the calendar. With the Christmas holiday coming up, I will be short some staff who are celebrating time with their families, as they very well should in this difficult year of 2020. We would hope that we would have those changes to us as early as possible next week, but the 18th when we would be next Friday, December 18th, would be great in order to incorporate those. We want to also make sure that we have time to use our resources within the communications unit to do a review. And I want to make sure that we have some conversations with folks as well, with an executive who can also give us some insights possibly to how we might approach this as well. So if we are able to complete the report the weekend before the week of Christmas, or the few days before Christmas, then after Christmas, we would be able to work with those stakeholders within the executive office and then submit the report by the 4th.
That also reminds me that the board members, as we engage in the rest of the discussion, to ponder whether or not they are willing to give me and Dr. McIntyre final authority on behalf of the board to issue the final report. These grammatical things are coming in. I understand we're getting additional information from DCA. Staff, of course, might tweak the document a little bit more, and I don't think it's worth bringing the whole document back to the board to read again, to give final approval. So at the end of the our discussion, I will ask for a motion to authorize Dr. McIntyre and I to give the final stamp of approval. Any other comments, themes, questions, criticisms about this report? Please, yes, Dr. Turetsky.
There we go. Just a question, are we going to go over any, is this just a general discussion right now, or can we hit on any specific points in the document, or how do you want to proceed on that?
I think looking at my gallery view, I think the general comments have come to an end. You might be the last, so why don't we go ahead and hit specific points now, if that's okay with Ms. Murphy? Yeah. All right, go ahead, David.
Okay, just a few specific points that I have. On page 74, there is there's a notation that roughly 31% of the CE audits show that there's a failure. People have not done the CE that they're supposed to do. And if that were to come up with the legislature, I think it's worth pointing out that that's something that we should have. It's an outreach issue. People just don't seem to understand what they're supposed to be doing. It seems pretty obvious, but I think that's something that we should consider having an answer to if it does come up. So that's one comment. The other comment I have is the inspection program on page 79, where it's talking about the board having inspection authority of optometric and opticianry practices. And there's obviously not going to be any funding to do something like this. That would be extremely labor intensive and expensive. But I was wondering if there's anything that we can do legislatively or through regulation where the board can obtain information from audits from other agencies and organizations. So the Department of Managed Healthcare, when they do audits, anything from the Department of Public Health, and for programs that administer state programs like VSP and March Vision and IMED that administer Medi-Cal programs, when they do audits of practitioners, can the board be privy to some of the results of those audits where there are violations that are found in the course of the audit? So it's a way to help us have inspection authority without having to spend any resources sending people out to do inspections. So maybe some type of review of what's in the law that allows us to receive that type of information would be something I'd like to look into. And my other, just a general question or just a general comment on this. This is my second sunset review that I've been through. Many times people badmouth state workers. People have no idea how much work state workers actually do. We have a very small staff, and those folks put together one hell of an impressive sunset review document. And there's no way to get that out, obviously, to the general public, what great work they did, but it's something that if we can't acknowledge it in some way, maybe on the board's website or something like that, I think it's something that should be acknowledged. And those are my comments and questions.
All right. Would any other board member like to make more specific comments on a section of the report? And board counsel or Ms. Murphy, at some point I will open this up to public comment. Let's get all the board members' comments in first as kind of a baseline.
No worries at all on that. I'll just interject now that the key time to focus on getting public comment is when you take action. So if you're thinking about it after a motion and before a vote, then that's perfect as far as public comment.
So actually, I'm not seeing any other desire for comment by any of our other board members. So why don't we indeed open it up for public comment, at least for a first round of public comment, if there is any. Madam Moderator, go ahead.
All right. Just a quick note to Shara. I'm going to steal back the presenter status real quick just to get those instructions up. All right. And then members of the public, at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. If you would like to make a public comment on this agenda item, please click on that icon with a question mark within the square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. We're currently sharing the instructions on the screen for your reference. And I'll go ahead and pause a moment to allow the public time to access that Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, this is the moderator. Looks like we do have one individual who has requested public comment. Individual identified as Joe Neville.
Great, let's go. Yeah.
Joe, you will be given 2 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for the opportunity to chime in here very, very briefly. I'd like to congratulate the staff on all the hard work that they've done on this. It's quite a remarkable document. I did note in reading through that there's a couple of errors as it relates to opticians that I just wanted to point out for the sake of accuracy. If you look at page 70 of the updated December 9th document, it references trends in the passing rates for the different opticianry tests. In the first paragraph at the top of page 71, it references that Texas has a high pass rate, and also says that Texas issues a state license. In fact, Texas does not issue a state license. It does not license opticians or certify or register opticians. It did have a brief voluntary registration system many, many years ago, but that was abolished about 8 or 10 years ago. So Texas does not license or otherwise register opticians. In the next paragraph, it talks about California being the only state that does not require education or apprenticeship before getting a registration. Again, that's not accurate because New Hampshire has a registration process, and there are no prerequisites in order to register in New Hampshire as an optician. So again, just for the sake of accuracy, I thought I would point those out. Thanks for the opportunity to speak up, and again, congratulations on this great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neville. We'll have the staff double check those facts and make changes as they are necessary, but we appreciate that comment. Moderator, are there any other public commenters?
This is the moderator. There are no further requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes. Board members, as I'm going through the document, I do have one question for staff on page 88. Line 33. And this is in yellow highlighting new issues that are identified by the report in this report. I'm not sure what that question is asking, and we have it blank for now, but it seems almost circular. So what do we anticipate saying there?
So we actually, there will be a little bit of reshuffling of this last section, the new section, or the new issues section. So we weren't given explicit instructions. This will be used by the committees prior or submittal of this report in order to identify the things that they, as committees, as the Senate and Assembly policy committees, see within the report. So it's kind of an overlap, as the prompt does clearly say this is the opportunity for the board to inform the committees of solutions. But we are supposed to leave some of these blank in order to, so what we'll actually do is that the new issues previously discussed in this report will move to new issues that are identified by the board in this report. And we'll remove under, oh, I'm so sorry. Give me just one moment. I didn't realize I hadn't started sharing my screen yet. Pardon me. There we go. So we were, I was grateful to our board and bureau relations deputy director. And I had a conversation yesterday and got some more clarification on this section 12. So we'll move the things that we have identified to the issues raised under prior sunset that have not been addressed. And then also the AB 684 and I'm sorry, BPC 655 will move to the new issues that are identified by the board in this report. And in fact, leave section 3 blank and section 4 blank for the committees within the legislature to respond to us.
All right, thank you. Board members, any further comment on the report? Let's see now. Let me go to my gallery view here so I can see people raising their hands. All right, I see none. Just to be complete, let's open up for public comment one more time, and then I'll ask for a motion. Or actually, should I, Rebecca, should I ask for the motion first and then open up for public comment?
Sure, that's often helpful. It puts it in the context of what the board would be doing.
All right, so I would appreciate a motion. If you look at, let's see now. Is there a suggested motion?
Yep, I can make the motion, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Glenn.
So this is Dr. Kawaguchi. I'd like to move to approve the 2021 Optometry Board Sunset Review as presented and delegate authority to the Executive Officer and Sunset Review Work Group to make any changes needed prior to submission.
Okay, do we have a second?
This is Lillian. I'll second it.
Dr. Wong seconds. Let's open up to public comment before we vote.
I apologize,
Shara?
Mr. President.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Because of COVID and all of these things being smashed together, there is a bit of a discrepancy. So we do refer to this as the 2020 Sunset Report. We will go through a sunset hearing in 2021, but just to make sure that the motion is correct, if we could just have Dr. Kawaguchi restate that so that it is 420, the Sunset Report, the 2020 Sunset Review Report.
Can I just accept that as a friendly amendment to my motion?
I'll leave that to council.
Yeah, I think as long as it's clear to staff that the motion and the second are referring to the 2020 report, then.
Dr. Wong, do you accept that friendly? Do you accept the amendment?
I accept the friendly amendment.
All right, very good. So let's open up to public comment then.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on that icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access the Q&A panel and submit their requests.
Anyone?
This is the moderator. It looks like at this time there are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
All right. Q&A panel is now closed.
All right, so let's take a vote. I believe we need to do this. I believe we need to do this by roll call. So, Dr. McIntyre, if you would not mind.
Sure. We'll start with Dr. Wong,
Aye.
Dr. Turetsky,
Aye.
Dr. Garcia,
I vote aye.
Ms. Brandvine, who is absent, no vote. Dr. McIntyre, aye. Dr. Kawaguchi,
Aye.
and Mr. Moridomi.
I vote aye.
Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Great work, board, and excellent work, staff. Before we go to future agenda, well, let's go to future agenda items, and then we'll go to the last, we'll revisit public comment. But do we have any, let's see now, hold on. Do we have any comment by members of the board regarding suggested future agenda items?
Yes, Glenn.
Go ahead.
So based on the letters that we received from the NBEO and the California Optometry deans, I think we need to make sure that for our next agenda, we have a discussion about a path to licensure for new graduates. It continues to be complicated, and it could be where we may need to do some additional research to find out if there's going to be a access problem to optometry if we can't get this corrected. So, you know, we are faced with retiring baby boomers and needing to replace them with new licensees. And so I don't know if that information is easy for us to obtain as far as it's within a report that we already have. But I think that that's going to help us as a board decide how urgent the situation is.
Great.
Well, on that same note, so with the new the shelter in place or stay at home order that the governor just put into effect, part two of the NBOs were partially canceled. So the students found out like the day before. So I have some information from the students. I think 17 in the area had them canceled, and still over half of them haven't been able to reschedule. Some of them were able to reschedule. 50% of those who got canceled weren't able to reschedule. And then students are traveling to like Oregon, Nevada, and Southern California from the Bay Area trying to get tested. And Pearson View, who administers the test, was not particularly helpful. So this is just sort of the whole saga of everything that's been going on. But this is sort of more the immediate stuff that's going on with testing.
So we can't discuss it too much since it's a future agenda item, but I agree we should put it on the next agenda. And perhaps if board members or staff can think about who should be showing up at that hearing. Staff can give us a report, but maybe we want to invite someone from Pearson to attend the meeting and answer a few questions as to what's going on. I know this was discussed in an earlier meeting. Do we want to put on the agenda any discussion about where the optometric profession is when it comes to vaccinations? I think there was some talk about that. Glenn, do you want to put that on a future agenda item, or?
Yeah, so I think there's become, I think, possibly two different discussion points that we can discuss. One of them is an optometrist's ability to vaccinate patients and having an expanded scope to be able to do that. That may include the COVID-19 vaccination. And the other aspect would be when where to have a clear understanding of where optometrists and opticians fall in California's rollout tier for the COVID-19 vaccinations.
All right. And before Shara falls off her chair, of course, we will work with you and your staff as to priorities and workload to even this stuff out over the course of the meetings. But we can talk about the scheduling. Unfortunately, these are two issues that are kind of pressing for the public. So the sooner the better. Any other matters that the board would like to consider at future meetings? All right. Let's open this up for public comment.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on that icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. I'll go ahead and pause a moment to allow the public time to access that Q&A panel. And actually, we do have a couple individuals who have requested public comment. One moment while I get my timer up. We'll start with our first individual who has requested public comment, Christine Schultz. Christine, you'll be given 2 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Great, thank you so much for the opportunity to comment. This is Christine Schultz representing the California Optometric Association. And I was asked to give kind of an update on what's going on with us legislatively. And I also do have some information on that tier issue about when vaccines are going to be provided to optometrists at least. So we are looking at a couple different legislative bills next year. One of them is related to the in vivo testing issue. And, trying to find a solution. We are searching for an author on that legislation to see if we can get something passed to allow some kind of pathway forward. What that exactly look like isn't yet determined, but, I think we all want the same end goal. And so we are searching for a solution to that. In terms of the testing and immunizations, we also want to pursue legislation next year to do those as well. Especially point of care testing, we think is a no-brainer for optometrists being able to do, CLIA wave testing for COVID in the office. I think all providers are going to end up testing patients at some point, potentially, and we want optometrists to be included in that. We think it's appropriate for a waiver for this as well. And just today, I sent Shara some information on the code sections that we believe need to be waived for optometrists to be able to do that. So we will look forward to working with the board on a waiver on that issue. And then when it comes to the other issue that Dr. Kahalivushi brought up regarding the tiering and when optometrists and opticians might be getting COVID tests. So been very much involved in the guidelines committees, drafting the community vaccine committees that have been developed within the Department of Public Health. We believe that optometrists, based on our conversations, are in the sub. I'm sorry?
10 seconds.
Oh, sorry. We believe optometrists are in the subdivision. Go ahead.
Christine, take your time.
Okay. Optometrists, we think, are in subdivision, the sub-tier 3. It's under type of facility. So optometrists are in the 1A phase 1A, but we believe there's not going to be enough vaccines to get all of the different providers in that first tier. And so we believe optometrists are alongside of dentists and other specialty clinics, but we are seeking more clarity from the guidelines committee to specifically list optometrists so that so it's not unclear about when they would be provided that vaccine. Because I think just by listing us under specialty clinics, who knows what a specialty clinic is? We know the county health officers will be making a lot of those determinations about, exactly how it's going to roll out. And we've been talking with the county health officer associations as well, trying to make sure that optometry is being considered in their planning processes. So, and I can respond to any questions you have.
since this is related to what we are planning to schedule in the future, I think we can ask a few questions from the board members, but we cannot have discussion by the board members. Any questions for Christine? Or David?
Hey, Christine, it's Dave Turetsky. If there is any support that you need, at least from me personally, please let me know, and I'll be happy to make any calls or emails on behalf of Optometry.
Absolutely. And just to let you know too, we've had the kind of conversation about, you know, what happens if there's an optometrist who practices in many different settings, right? So in terms of the vaccine rollout, if there's an optometrist who has private practice, but then they're also in nursing homes, how do they operationally apply for and make sure that they're vaccinated in the correct year?
Great. Thank you, Christine. Thank you for informing us. I think we should still have this on a future agenda for further updates, but thank you very much for your work. Oh, David?
Mark?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that my comment is made as an individual practitioner and not on behalf of the Board of Optometry.
Thank you, David. I understand. Madam Moderator, do we have any other further public commenters?
This is the moderator. We do have one more individual who has requested public comment. Individual identified as Tiffany Witherspoon. Tiffany, you'll be given 2 minutes to speak in a 10-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Witherspoon, Director of Continuing Education at Western University. And forgive me if this has already been addressed at a previous meeting, but I just wanted to know, was there an update in regards to glaucoma grand rounds? I know that there was a modification that was made that allowed for the glaucoma grand rounds to be done by SCCO, doing it virtually. But my question is, has there been any other agenda items in regards to whether that would be approved in the future up to an extended date?
Executive Officer Murphy.
Just to say that it will appear on a additional agenda. We were going through a review of the program. It seems to have been successful. We'll be bringing back those findings to the PEC committee and then bringing it to the board for our next agenda.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
I'm
moderator.
Go ahead.
I apologize.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say there are no further requests for public comment.
All right, let's close the public comment. And without objection from the board, we can close the future agenda items item. And Ms. Murphy, I understand there's no closed session today. All right, so we'll skip item number 5. That leads us to item 6, adjournment. Unless the board members want to debate this, I think we can adjourn. All right, fantastic. It's 10:50. We got this through in record time. Thank you, everyone, for all your work before the meeting. And staff and board members made the meeting very productive and quick. Any other comments from members of the board or staff?
I just wanted to also echo your thanks. This was an additional meeting in order to get your approval before the middle of the sunset report. And I just thank each of the board members for taking this extra time that we had not anticipated in order to move this forward. Greatly appreciates your accommodation for us to be able to with a report that reflected the board well.
Fantastic. It's great seeing everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, yeah.
21.
21?
Soon, Mark.
See you in 21. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, this is the moderator, and this concludes the board meeting. I'll go ahead and end the event now. Thank you.